So today we have a first for the channel, an interview. We're going to be talking to the modder Ahowl11, who is the team leader for the major total overhaul mod for Rome Remastered, Rome Total Realism, Imperium Surrectum, which, if you haven't heard, is being developed by members of the old Rome Total Realism and Roma Surrectum mod teams. So Ahowl, hello, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
All right. So let's get right into it. Rome Total Realism, Imperium Surrectum, or RIS for short, just had its 0.2.0 release. Congratulations for that. I think the release
Hey.
is. Oh, of course. I think I think the release has gone over very well with the community. However, regarding Rome Remastered, there is still a lot of speculation and suspicion flying around that promises have not been kept, that the game is abandoned, that they didn't keep their promises to modders with this release. What do you have to say to fans who are worried about all of this and the future of Rome Remastered?
Um, I'd have to say that, I can definitely empathize and see where they're coming from. Uh, when it was first announced, I remember seeing 38 playable factions, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, did they do it? But it turned out to be that they just made the unplayable factions from vanilla, or I guess original Rome Total War, into playable factions. And I think like most of us, I forgot that those factions weren't originally playable. I
Right, right.
modding, I was used to having 21 factions instead of like 10 or whatever it is when it came out of the box.
Right.
So, I can understand that there was some confusion, but as far as, like where they lied and they're leading us astray and it was poor marketing and all that stuff, I see it a different way. I think it's important to realize that it's not Creative Assembly, it's Feral, and Feral Interactive is responsible for porting Rome Total War to Mac, iPhone, and iPad. So, I think it's important for us to realize that this is a small company working on this, and their team of, they have a small team compared to Creative Assembly. So, and then as a modder, I have communication with them and I work with them. I'm not allowed to speak much of what I get to work with, but I will say that been a lot of work being done behind the scenes that most people aren't aware of. And I can just say that all worries need to be put to bed, that we need to just kind of be okay with what's going on, realize that good things take time, and at the end of the day, we're gonna get what we always wanted. And it's just yeah, it's interesting. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. And do you think the community had the right expectations when it came to Rome Remastered?
Yes and no. Yes, I mean, think about it. It's been 15 years. If you've seen this, it's like, oh, with all this technology, they should be able to give us this, and that. Like, why wouldn't they? I
Right.
mean, it's just a doable thing. Well, no, it's not. Like, who knows how long they were able to work on it? And if you look at the amount of work that they put into it, just remastering the game, there was a lot of care and a lot of stuff that they did that they didn't have to do. They could have easily just did with what a lot of remasters do, where it's just like, hey, let's take the graphics and upgrade it, and that's it.
Right.
Well, they took it a step further, and I think there's a lot of like what you call it, the ease of play that I don't forget what they call it these days, but they make it a little bit easier to play. I know a lot of people aren't fans of the UI, but people who have never played before are probably going to be accustomed to the UI. And then you go to old Rome Total where you're like, holy crap, like this UI is kind of it's kind of old. So they made it easier to play. I love little features like being able to zoom out and the trees can show like the units in the big forest, whereas in the
Right.
original game, you're basically like lost as to what's going on in the battle. Some may say that's more realistic. For me, it's like this is a game. Um,
Hmm.
so I think they did a lot of stuff, and for people to expect unlimited factions and this and that. and Rome 2, like a Rome 2 competitor. It's like, okay, like there's just no I didn't expect that. I expected what we're seeing. What I expected them to like release it as is and then to continue to build on it based on the feedback they're getting.
Right.
And that's
Right.
exactly what they're doing. And I'm so happy for it because first of all, I feel like I have a voice.
Hmm.
Second of all, I see a passion and commitment from people who've really been working on this game for over a decade. We just didn't even know. And third, that it's just like all the fascinations and dreams that I've had over the years are coming to life or are going to come to life in time. So it's a really exciting time to be following the remaster, following the mods, and being part of the mods.
Right. Right. No, a lot of good stuff in there. Thank you for that answer. I think that'll perhaps make a lot of people less worried in the community and understand that a lot of this stuff is going on behind the scenes. So, a lot of people in the historical Total War community are buzzing about the historical Total War YouTuber Melkor quitting YouTube and think it might be a sign that the Creative Assembly doesn't want to continue supporting historical Total Wars. Do you have any comments or observations about that?
I would say we'll see. I don't really follow CA and like I'm not gonna lie. I mean, ever since Rome 2, I haven't bought a game. I'm not a fan personally of Rome 2 or Attila,
Mm-hmm.
uh, mainly because you can't mod the map. And for me, that just ends the conversation right there. Like, if I can't mod the map and I can't make the map better, I don't want anything to do with this.
Right,
So
right.
I don't really have experience with the direction that CA is going, but I have noticed that they've turned to more of a fantasy side with uh Warhammer and I guess the mythological stuff with Troy. So I think that and Third Age, I mean not Third Age, Three Kingdoms, it's kind of like a historical slash superhero
Right.
deal. So who knows? I've seen so many things about Medieval 3. If they do that, then I think that'll assure people that there's a commitment towards the historical side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they obviously are committed to some degree by letting Farrell do what they're doing with Rome. Who knows if we're going to see more remasters in the future? So, as far as Melkor is concerned, I think he should have stayed with it. I know he has his reasons. I read what he said, and I watched his video. He has his beliefs. He has his opinions of the matter. But honestly, I mean, he was a very successful channel. He had a really good following. I enjoyed some of his videos from time to time, and I definitely don't think he should have left. I get it if your passion is burned out. That's one thing. But if it was like external factors, I don't think that should let you, or move you far enough to kind of end what you're doing. Because the thing is, a person like that, he's got the ability to maybe showcase our mod or other mods that are coming up. I mean, with Feral updating and updating and updating, us modders, we can only keep up so much. I mean, we're way behind the eight ball when it comes to Feral. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually, in time, with maybe the next 6 months or a year, us modders are going to be able to take what Feral has done for us and turn it into something that the players and the YouTubers get to see. And it's like there's going to be one of people there's going to be people that are going to want to cover that. So I mean, if Melkor hears that, I think you should make a comeback eventually and start covering things again because your content's great, you have a good perspective, you're fun to watch, and community probably misses you, and you have a lot of good stuff to cover in the future.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. Very interesting perspective and a lot of important info in there for everyone in the community. That's for sure. So you modded Total Rome Total War, I should say, for a long time, and as far as I know, that was your focus. You never really dabbled in modding the other Total War titles until the release of Total War Rome Remastered. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're probably one of the most well informed when it comes to comparing the mod scenes between the two. So which game is easier to mod overall, the original or the remaster?
Oh, that's a good question, man. Because it's easy to say the original because I'm so used to it, but then it has its limitations. Like
Right.
it's got limitations. It's a game made in 2004, and I think modding it for as long as I did, it came a time where I was like, I am just so sick and tired of X, Y, or Z. Like, why can't I have, A, B, or C? It would make my life easier.
Hmm.
Well, with the remaster, I get A, B, and C, and that puts a big smile on my face. But then I realized that, oh, because I have this now, I've never touched this before. I don't even know this is brand new. So I have to kind of learn how to mod these things. So it's fun, but it's also more work, a little time consuming. So I'd say it's a 50-50. It's kind of like as far as difficulty, but as far as desire, I don't think I ever want to go back to the old one. Like,
Right.
there's no way, like, just with what we have right now, like, what we know publicly right now is we have unlimited unit slot. Okay, that in it's by itself is amazing. Like, who doesn't want more units all the time?
Right.
Original Rome had 500, and I found in multiple modding projects of mine that that 500 seems big until you reach it.
Hmm.
And then you had all these units planned out for each faction or AOR units or mercenary units. And you're just like, wow, well, I really want to make the map more diverse with these units. But like, if you think about it, you would also cap the 200 regions for the map. So if you
Right.
just want one unique mercenary unit for every single region, that's 200 units. Okay, well, now you got 300 units for 21 factions. Do the math, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of constricted here. So having just unlimited or 2.4 billion units, as the feral guys say,
Hmm.
is way better. And then not only that, we get to have 2.4 billion models.
Hmm.
So every single unit can have its own unique model. And then you can think about all the different textures it can have. It can have up to 21 or 22 different textures for a mercenary and then all the factions. You can really get some diversity now.
Right.
So that's amazing in itself. Rome Total War doesn't have that. So why would I go back? And so yes, the difficulty is there. There's a lot of new stuff to kind of learn and kind of take in. But at the end of the day, I rather be immersed in learning this as a sponge than sticking with something I've known for 10 years of kind of getting stale and I know is never gonna get better. So that hopefully that answers the question.
Right. Yeah. No, a lot of important info in there. That's for sure. So, what does the future hold for Rome Total Realism Imperium Surrectum? And what are your focuses going to be in the coming releases, aside from, general bug fixing and maintenance, of course?
Um, Great question again. I'm glad that I just spoke to my core team about that today. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have had an answer for you.
Right.
When I approached the team today, it was like, all right, guys, what are we going to work on next? And the first thing out of like half the team was like, how about a week off of nothing? And it's like, okay,
Right.
perfect. I'm probably the one of the most gung ho guys in the team. But the guys have put in so much work. Uh, we all deserve a week off, and it couldn't come at a better time. Um, with work schedules and real life. So we're gonna take this next week off and just chill, enjoy the videos that you and the others are putting out, watch some live streams, play the game ourselves a little bit, maybe get a couple bug fixes out.
Hmm.
But there's a few of us, me and another guy, Joe Relop, your fellow Armenian historian.
Right.
I am going to guarantee that there will be a new map. So yes, we may run this Magnus, the new map from vanilla, but it's really just a temporary holder. We're actually working on a bigger map, and this bigger map is going to have the same scale as Mundus Magnus. So all the way down south to Ethiopia, all the way north Scandinavia, Arabia, all the way east to include the Indus Valley. And I know I'm going to answer it right now. I know a lot of people are saying India, India, India. I want India. Well, if you want India, then we have to include Tibet, Bangladesh. There's like a lot of other things that
Mhm.
we just do not have the time and resources to go that far. And we want to encompass all of the Greek and the Romano, the Greco-Roman world. And for us, that means the Indus Valley, where the Indo-Greeks once were. And we think as
Hmm.
far as that's concerned, we're good. We don't need to push deep into India, because this is a game centered on the Greco-Roman world. And we don't want to make it more than that, because when you start making it more than that, then people are going to start asking, well, what about Southeast Asia? Well, what about China and the Han Dynasty? And at that point, that's just like way too much. I don't care if it's remastered or not. You have to say no at some point. So to those of you that really want India for this mod, I'm going to say I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But there will be a map. And about this map, all I can say, it's going to be bigger, better, and more detailed than Mundus Magnus. And what's great about it is because it's bigger and because we have unlimited regions now,
Hmm.
we're going to try to, if we have time, that's the main thing. We don't really know the time thing. If we have time, we're going to try to add at least a few more regions. I can't put a number on it because I'm not sure, but I definitely want to get some more in there. There is some glaring areas where it's like we need to populate this part of the map. Like, for instance, Arabia. We had to strip just about all the Arabian settlements from Mundus Magnus to kind of get some important Hellenistic cities or Roman cities in there. And now
Hmm.
it's kind of looking kind of sad. So we want to do that, maybe populate Ethiopia a bit more, just those barren areas that deserve a little bit more love. Um, the map, and then I will also guarantee that there will be three new factions. I will not release info on who those factions will be, but as if you've been paying attention, there's only 17 factions right now in RIS. We basically got rid of the Broody Eye, the Skippy Eye, and the Senate. Those like traditional Rome Total War mods will now be replaced with three brand new factions. So those are the things that I can guarantee. Aside from that, uh, mystery.
Right, right. And you were talking about, a lot of people want to include India and things like that, but that also depends on, even though they have lifted the region limit, adding a whole other culture, that depends on the culture limit as well, right? Has that been touched at all by Farrell?
I can't talk about what Farrell is working on.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to wait and see what happens. I would hope that they would lift the cultures. Um, it's definitely been a request of mine. I know I'll say that. Like I
yeah,
think it was one of the first things I wanted, but it all depends on the difficulty of what's, you know, I'm not their programmers digging deep into the hard code and the EXEs.
yeah,
Like I'm not seeing what they're finding or whatnot. So um, even so, like even if Farrell came out and like they're like, hey, you can make the map encompass the entire scale of the Earth. Like you can rival Paradox map and how huge they are and how expansive. Okay, cool. But how many years is that going to take us modders to do? Like,
yeah. That'll take
we,
quite a while.
what's more important, quantity or quality? And that's a great, it's going to be a great question depending on what Farrell gives us. And it's already a question as far as like regions and units. Like, do we just want to have like 1,000 units and they're all, crap units that like you never even heard of? Like, you just kind of like make it up. Like, I think, there's the R2 mod, and forgive me if I'm not trying to trash, but there's an R2 mod. I don't know which one it is, but I just remember reading it. It was like Sinopian Sorakatai. And I'm like, okay, how do we know Sinop had Sorakatai? Like, where's the proof? And it's
Right.
like, at some point, it's like we're making up units that we think existed. And same thing with like regions. Like, none of us on our team are in like specialists on Indian history. Uh, we know hardly anything about the Mauryan dynasty alone. So we would need like a couple guys who were deeply involved in India. But then you also have to say we would have to have the desire to do that. And like I said, we talked early on, we don't want to expand past the Greco-Roman world. But for those people who are interested in it, and there's nothing stopping you for making it. Like it is possible to include there is a Mundus Magnus map out there somewhere that included all of India. So if you are Indian history enthusiast and you feel like the Mauryan Empire needs to be put in and Chandragupta and all those guys and like all the kingdoms they fought south of them, you have a map at your disposal that you can learn to port to the remaster and then make your own mod. And that's what makes it so beautiful is yes, maybe you're not happy that RIS is gonna not include your favorite faction, or your favorite part of the map, or your favorite unit, or whatever, or your idea. So what? Don't rely on us. This is a chance for you to rely on yourself, pick it up, learn, and make your own mod. And next thing you know, you're gonna be pretty good at modding and you're going to have your own little following. And maybe there's a YouTube video that gets made about your stuff. And that's what's so great about this is you have the ability to do that. So that's my message to those out there who may want something that we might not do. Don't make it feel don't I don't want you to feel like it's impossible or it's never going to happen because you have the power to do it yourself. And you can get a team together too. So just some positivity out there. I didn't want it to be like, you know,
Right. And no, and you make a good point. Like in Paradox games like Imperator
yeah,
that include like Tibet and the Mauryan Empire in India, right? But Paradox doesn't have to worry about like creating units and unit models and all that
correct.
diversity and all that research. So it's a totally different level of
Correct. And
commitment and depth, right?
And Paradox is a company, and they're employees who get paid, and they have
Right.
insurance.
That too.
We we have our own jobs. We have, a lot of people on our team have families. I'm very blessed at this point in my life where I'm single and I don't have a family to worry about. Otherwise, I'm not sure if I'd be able to lead the team. But we have guys on our team who are extremely busy with families. We have illnesses, we have real jobs, and we're all over the world. So all of our communication is through messaging or voice talk and we don't get paid and we don't want to get paid. This is a passion of ours. But with that, there comes limitations. And so we have to, like I said, we have to draw the line somewhere. Or else
Right.
it becomes too big of a thing and we'll fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, RAS puts so much depth into all the factions and unit rosters that it would be a ton of work to just add a whole new faction that's so in depth like that. So I totally see where you're coming from there.
Years,
Because you'd want to
years.
do it right. You would want to do it right. You don't
We
want to
would,
half-ass it, right?
yeah, we don't want to do that. I'd be buying books on the Indian history and I'd be recruiting all over the internet to see if there's some Indian historians out there. And then we'd
Right.
have to take time out to put the Indian subcontinent on the map. We'd have to research the entire unit rosters. And there might be some people that submit like some paperwork and like, hey, you should do this. It's like, yeah, but you don't understand how much time it's going to take because all this time that we're focusing on that takes time away from all the factions that we originally planned. So it's it's just a lot. Taxila could be an added faction one day, like
Right.
EV2 has it.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's definitely potential there. I just think if we're to extend to the entire subcontinent, you're going to start getting more questions about, well, what about Southeast Asia, Burma and Vietnam and Thailand? Like, what about those ancient civilizations and their kingdoms? And then what about Han China? Han China would definitely come up if we ended up putting India in. And I can tell you right now, I just don't want RAS to be a worldwide focus. I want
Right.
it to be a Roman focus.
Right. And I just had a thought. You'd want to include India more in a more historically accurate way than Empire Total War, right?
Of
So
course,
yeah,
yeah.
that would be
I
a
mean,
lot of work. Yeah.
it's like India map that you just scroll to, and it's like this is just your India theater. No, like I think it's very possible that you might see a Taxila faction or a Mauryan faction. They were part of the political arena in that area. And if we have a Bactria faction in the future, we have a Saka faction.
Hmm.
That's all part of our Greco-Roman part, the Indo-Greek. They intermingled with the Mauryan and the Taxilans and all the other, smaller petty kingdoms. So there's potential for them, but I'm not willing to go as far deep and include the entire subcontinent. So I think hopefully that's a good like compromise that like, hey, there might be an Indian culture one day. Who knows? It really depends on what we're able to do. Rome Total War mods were able to do it
Hmm.
here and there, but like I said, me included, we're kind of a perfectionist here at RIS, and so if we're going to do something, we're going to do it right. It's not going to be some like you say, half-assed,
Right.
uh,
Empire Total
50%.
War job.
Yeah, it's not going to be the Armenian faction in a Rome Total War, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I remember the super mod project for Medieval 2. It was called Dominion of the Sword. They had a huge team. I don't know if you remember them or have heard of them. Yeah, they had a huge team and they were really pushing Medieval 2 to the limit. But the mod and the mod team sort of collapsed under its own weight. Now, with two heavyweight teams combined, like the Rome Total Realism and Roma Surrectum teams, how do you guys keep it all together and develop a huge mod with one vision?
Well, you know, that's a it's a really good question. It is difficult. I have been part of a mod way back in my early modding days. When I first joined Total War Center, I decided to create a mod called Historical Rome Total War. And my ambition was bigger than my ability. And I had this huge following. I had a team of like 40 to 50 people. And if you go on Total War Center, you will see there is like 100 plus pages to the thread. And the whole time, nothing's really getting done. It was just talk. We just planned and planned and planned and planned. We were planning the first release and we planned the second release. And then this whole time, like barely anything's getting done. We never had a release. There was no public,
Oh,
and we fell apart. We fell apart. It became too heavy for me, and I quit. I quit as a leader of that team, and I tried modeling. Uh, so it's definitely a thing that can happen to big teams if you're not, if you don't have a vision. So I think the important thing is you need to have an overall vision, and that goes back to like my India comment. Like India is not in our vision. We talked about it. So our vision was to accurately portray the Greco-Roman world from probably the beginning of the Roman Republic, uh, like 270 BC, all the way through like Trajan.
hmm.
That's where those legions come in, and we felt like okay, that's probably what we could do. Maybe in the future, depending on what we're allowed to do and what we're given, maybe we extend it further back in time to start with Alexander,
Mm.
and maybe get some Diadochi stuff going. These are just ideas. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but we want to keep that like Hellenistic age through the beginning of Pax Romana, like that whole tumultuous period where the Greeks and the Romans dominated the earth until it was just the Romans, and then once it gets to that peaceful era, it's like okay, like that's kind of like a cutoff point. But anyways, like so you have to have a vision, and then you have to be able to delegate. So as a leader, I can't just do everything on my own or be bossy. I have to kind of just say, hey, if you're going to be on our team, what would you like to do? And then through that, kind of incorporate people into their different roles, which I think we have a very good, I guess, hierarchy of things.
Hmm.
You have me who kind of puts out the initial ideas. You have the core team that will kind of veto or agree. We kind of hash it out in a private discussion room. And then once we've all agreed, we then give it to the developers who there's a few, which most of the developers are the core team anyway, but the other devs. And then from there, we just kind of tell the testers, hey, this is what you're going to do, and this is what we need. And they're
Hmm.
more than happy because really they're the ones that get to play it. And what's really keeping us together, I say, is the Git repo. And if you don't know what Git is, Git's like a subversion. And I probably the people who are technologically savvy out there are going to kill me. I'm probably butchering this, but it's like a repository where we can, let's say I mod a file, I can then push it to this repository, and
Hmm.
then you in Armenia, the next when you wake up in the morning, can pull it from the same repo. So as I'm going to bed, pushing a file, you can pull that file as you're waking up in the morning, and it allows us to kind of share the entire mod amongst each other, and it helps things get done. So you don't
Right.
have to worry about Dropbox or Google Drive or emailing files to one another. It's all here in a central repo. And it's really nice when something goes wrong because the repo keeps track of everything. So you can go check a log and be like, oh, well, so and so forgot to put the extension on this file, and that's why it's crashing the game. Let me put the extension on this file, push it to the repository. Oh, look, hey, everybody. Everybody's repo should work now, and everybody's game should work. And I think having that is extremely important because without it, I think, yeah, I mean, it's the heavy load. There's a lot of expectations that not only we place on ourselves, but from what we've seen in public, there's a lot of expectations out there of what this could be. And having a Git repo and having constant communication is great. Sometimes the devs don't agree with each other and they get into little spats about what should be in or what shouldn't be in. And I think we turn to voting a lot. And sometimes I need to step in and just kind of put my foot down and say, hey, this is the direction we're going to go. But a lot of times I like to keep the team, I want the team to be able to be autonomous and make the decisions as a team instead of just having like this one guy, bossing everybody around. Like, I think I've tried doing that in the past and it just ends up in failure. When I was younger in those days, and I learned that what you want to do to keep things successful is be able to delegate, but delegate in a way that the person that you're delegating to feels like they're involved and that they have a voice, and that they have control over what they do. It's like the guy making the map, he's got like a lot of control and say on that map. And it keeps everybody happy. And the last thing I'd say is happiness, keeping the work area light and funny and being able to poke fun at each other and not worry about it too much. That keeps things going good. You don't get a lot of toxicity. You don't have a lot of talking behind each other's backs. It's just, hey, we're all here for a common goal and we're going to do it. And if there's an issue, we're going to put it out in public. And if we got to hash it out in public, we will. And once it's done, it's done. We're moving on. There's no hard feelings. So far, so good. I would say that we're a very, very awesome team with a lot of mature people.
Right, right. No, a lot of good stuff in there, especially the stuff about Git and how modders can use that to sort of keep teams cohesive and all that. Good. So you guys just released version 0.2.0 of RIS. So what were your goals for this release and what do you think people should know about it that maybe hasn't been covered by YouTubers or myself just yet?
Our goals, our goals was the main goal was, because if you remember, we released a teaser
Right.
the day of release of the game. We released a very small teaser. And then a week later, we released 1.0, which is basically vanilla with Roman Surrectum units. And we felt like, okay, that's going to carry us through the summer at least. People can enjoy this. Feral, to be honest with you, Feral's first version of the game was less moddable than original Rome Total War when it came out.
Right.
There was a lot of brokenness, and I think a lot of folks saw that, and that's where you maybe got some of that backlash at the beginning. Whether it be YouTubers or just commenters or saying, "Oh, this is trash," they lied to us. I think it's because Feral, they worked on so much, and they reinvented the game basically that there was missing pieces. But luckily, they had us, who were basically like saying, "Hey, like, we can't do this like we normally can. It crashes the game. Oh, let's look into it. Oh, okay, we fixed it for you guys." There was a lot of that during the summer. So our goal was, let's communicate with Feral to get things where they need to be. And then second was, let's get the second version to be as close to like an overhaul mod as possible without being overly ambitious. So we cut some corners. Like, you're going to see some historical inaccuracies. You're going to see some oddities. But for us, it was like, hey, that's fine. We're going to fix that later anyway. Let's not worry about that. Another thing is, let's not worry about the new unit-based skin system right now. That's so brand new. Let's just port over what we have and give the people that, because they're beautiful units. So we were able to achieve that. We were able to get, I'd say 90% or like at least 80% of the Roma Surrectum units in. And then, we talked about factions. too much work. We wouldn't have been able to release when we released if we added factions. So we decided to keep it at 17 factions. And we were able to achieve that, obviously. And then the map. The big thing was let's get a decent map. And we don't have time to make a brand new map right now, but luckily for us, two experienced modders, Mackin and Wild Dog, big credit to those guys, or her and he, they're a great duo.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to release the Mundus Magnus map to the public. And as soon as they did that, I kind of got with the team. I was like, guys, we got to hop on this. This is our map for this version. Because the Mundus Magnus map has its flaws historically. It's kind of lacking in the east, and the way the mountain ranges and everything is, it's not really accurate. So I figured, hey, let's get this done. Let's strip all of the Mundus Magnus cities and then repopulate it the way we want to, based on all of our research that we've done over the years. And then let's then take a proven economic system and add it to this map to really make it a unique feature. And then I got with Tone, who is our RS2, our main RS2 guy, and I was like, you can be in charge of the units and the recruitment and stuff like that. So while some of us worked on the map and trading resources and the cities, some others were working on the units and the rosters. And it was a really great, like, talk about Rome Surrealism and Roma Surrectum coming together. It was a real great scene of combining the two. So we took Roma Surrectum units and we gave a lot of them Rome Total Realism descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
We changed a lot of unit names. Our lead historian was really working hard on that. And so, yeah, to get the map populated and different than Mundus Magnus, we didn't total conquest. So we stripped the map there, we put our own cities on there. And then Rome Total Realism, the Roma Surrectum units. So those were two goals. And then the third goal was to get it as bug and CTD free as possible, so that on release day, we're not, over our heads and swimming in bugs. And I think we've seen a few things, but it's not like a consistent error where every time this turn, like 3 people are reporting that on turn 10, there's a CTD. We haven't gotten any of that. It's just random stuff here and there that I think is mainly based on people's performance settings and PC settings. So yeah,
Right.
those were our main. I feel like we did what we wanted to do, but we're not satisfied. We're ready to.
Of
We're gonna
course.
kick that week off, but we're ready to get going on the 3.0.
Of course. Of course. No, that's all good to hear. And so, yeah, any final thoughts about Rome Remastered and Imperium Surrecta before we wrap it up here?
Sure, I'm just gonna let anybody that's listening to this know that Rome Total Realism Imperium Surrectum, or RIS, is not an easy mod. Like, it's not supposed to be easy. We don't want it to be easy. We want you to be challenged. We want you to lose.
Right.
So it doesn't happen in Total War games very often where you actually lose. And so, with that being said, just because it's not easy doesn't mean it's impossible. We made sure that it was not that we made sure that it wasn't impossible. So you're going to start off in debt. You're going to be in the red, and you might have to quit your campaign and restart it based on the decisions you make. But knowing all of you, you're going to play and play and play, and people are going to put out guides and hints and tips. And next thing you know, by the time 3.0 is released, we're going to have to rethink how things are done because you guys are going to master it. But that's the whole point. And I think our main goal is to get you guys playing more than 50 to 100 turns. We want you guys going deep into the game. For your Roman players, we want you to earn the Roman legions. And for you other players of other factions, we want you to be able to take down the Romans. They should be the most powerful. Or if you're in the east, we want you to be able to take down the Seleucids or the Ptolemies. Those are going to be big ones to fight. But yeah, it's going to be a hard game. But as we keep making it, it's going to keep getting more and more and more historically immersive. You're going to learn so much about the time period. You're going to learn so much about how things were done, cultures, religions, buildings, units, like all kinds of politics, traits. There's going to be a lot of stuff where you're going to be playing the game, but you're going to be stopping and you're going to be reading things that we've put in. Because there's going to be a lot of content. And we hope that it's as much of an educational experience for you as much of it is as a gaming experience for you. Because for many of us, the original Rome Total War was an education for me as an 11 and 12-year-old. Rome Total War taught me about, oh, what's Pontus? Or who are the Scythians? And that led into Rome Total Realism and Europa Barbarorum, which I learned even more, which inspired me to make my own mod. And so I'm hoping that regardless if you're in your 50s or 60s or beyond, or if you are in your teens or kid, that you can learn something from what we've done here and also enjoy it at the same time. And maybe one day you can make your own mod. And that's all I got to say.
All right. So thank you so much, Ahowl11, for joining us here today on the Gudea Total War channel. Yeah, thank you for all of your insight and all of your modding knowledge and wisdom. So yeah, thank you for joining us today.
No problem, you did. It was really cool. Me and you are friends outside of this. Cool to do this with you. And best of luck to you, your channel. And just want to let you know that I watch as many videos as I can. And that last Armenian video you put out, Armenia through Total Wars, I think it was a very informative video. I didn't know how bad the medieval 2 Total War portrayed Armenia, and that was really sad. So yeah, I was an eye opener. I was like, wow, they really screwed that up, didn't they? So very fun videos. I enjoy it, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you again so much, Ahowl. So yeah, if you guys like interviews like this and videos about the historical Total Wars and their mods, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.